buddy.
We're going to have mimosas.
Yes, we are. Mimosa Friday. Football Friday with some mimosas. Yes, we're having mimosas in honor of none other than Van Grafton. Van loves mimosas. Good Monday morning, Ed. We need our Football Friday updates. I got a feeling I slipped a little bit. Hey, why didn't you get on the show last week?
How's that MTAR?
I don't give a damn. You could still get on there and just act like you're here. I do that to people. Like Josh is wake up with me. I just get on there, and even if I'm not doing anything. Sam Gordon, are you going to be in the office? Not this Friday, but next. Invite friends. Good morning, Shannon. Good morning, everybody. As always, we start the show with 60 seconds of gratitude. And I'd like to ask none other than Josh Letzler, because he always gives the worst answers. What are you thankful for this morning? Who thinks his answer sucks?
I mean, first of all, you can never be too grateful for the weather.
For the weather. That's his old standby. If y'all do me a favor, like, comment, share the stream, please. What are you thankful for? Huh?
I'm thankful that there's some good football on this weekend. I got to watch some good football. Jeez. And I got to hang out with a lot of people that I haven't seen in a while at a wedding.
Good. Did you get drunk? The old college kid. That's his nickname right here, college. Did you graduate? Damn, how many hours short are you?
I don't know.
So went to private school. That's a letdown. Didn't even graduate college.
The only one of that MTCS class that didn't graduate college.
Jeez.
Huh. All right. Well, okay, moving right along. This is, today's 9/11, and a lot of the people here don't know really what 9/11 means. And when 9/11 happened, I was probably Hayden's age. You know, Hayden probably feels like a grown-ass man at 27, 28 years old. I was older than you, Josh. And I worked for a company called Morgan Stanley. Are you familiar with Morgan Stanley? Well, Morgan Stanley was headquartered in the World Trade Center. So, this is kind of an emotional thing for me, because I was in the World Trade Center for a month in January and February of 2001. And when I was in college, we had this biology teacher that he had been removed to tell us he was in the CIA. And I remember before going up there, I was concerned. We're like on the 60th floor, somewhere in there. I can't remember exactly where we were, but we were way up there. But he was telling us that the World Trade Center was always going to be target for terrorism. I can't remember when there was a terrorist attack where they put a bomb in the bottom of it in the late 90s, maybe blew up. So I had a little anxiety about going there, and the myth is there was a target date of during the time I was going to be there. I've heard that. I don't know how true it is. I haven't fact checked. I haven't looked it up. But that day, nearly 3,000 people died. And I'm thinking about what if. This is why, like, whenever I ask people, do you feel lucky? Do you feel like you're a lucky person?
I do.
Do you feel lucky?
Absolutely.
Do you feel lucky?
100%.
Do you feel lucky? Do you feel?
Yes.
Okay, well, a lot of people, they might not say they feel lucky, but I think if you go back, find scenarios where you did something you shouldn't have, you got away with it, you're lucky. I don't know what would have happened that day if I'd have been in there, because I know this. I'm a very observant person. I'm very cautious. And the Port Authority, whenever the first plane struck that World Trade Center, told everybody to go back they were trying to create like a calmness. And they told everybody to, hey, go back into the building. Because at the time, they didn't know what was going on. I walked into Morgan Stanley that morning, and we had these computers where CNBC would pop up, and they showed this hole in the first building that was hit. And I'm like, man, that must have been like a little bitty plane. That's what I thought. while they were on air, the next plane, while they're sitting there, drove right into it. Man, it was, you remember it pretty well, I'm sure. It was the weirdest feeling that day. It was extremely eerie. Like, are we safe? Like today, most people in this country take for granted your safety because we got the best military in the world where we don't have to worry about those things. But that day, you questioned it. Imagine if you'd have been up in an airplane flying around, because there was planes, there's 105,000 flights a day or something like that. Imagine if you'd have been up there. News was traveling. Brittany was telling me the other day she saw something where people called from the airplane that had been hijacked to leave voicemails.
I saw that. On social media yesterday.
So these are today's are reminders of be thankful that you're here. Be thankful that you didn't witness an evil moment like that, because you're lucky to survive. 3,000 people. I don't know how many people could have been saved. I don't know what it would be impossible to go back and say, well, they should have done this, because they did the best they could in that particular moment. But I've got a friend that I talk to every single day that worked downtown. He worked on Wall Street, and he said, man, you just wouldn't believe what it was like walking out of there. Just walking out of there and seeing those buildings come down, the debris, the smoke. So I wanted to remind myself of why I'm lucky. And today is a reminder. We should give thanks for the people that ran up there and rescued thousands of people. There were people that worked at Morgan Stanley that were said to have jumped out of the building. I mean, think about that, jumping 64. Hell, you can probably go to YouTube and see people jumping out of the building. Scared to death. They're on the phone calling. There was nothing that they could do. And then, of course, the building collapsed. So most of you probably won't ever experience. I mean, is that the only thing you've ever experienced in your 50-plus years of living?
There's a couple of moments that you always remember where you were when
The space shuttle.
Kennedy tried to shoot Reagan.
I
was in 6th grade. And they brought
I remember the space shuttle blowing up. I was in the 6th grade. I remember this, and I remember we had this sales manager, this dumb fuck, pardon my language. He came in there and he's like, man, you need to be cold calling tonight. People are worried about their money. And it was like a mutiny in that building, especially with all these rookies like us. We were so pissed off, we just left. That dude was so mad. He eventually, of course, lost his job, but not over that. But, the end of the day, when things like that happen, you really put it into perspective of what's really important. And then, man, like the coolest thing, it's hard to really appreciate this, but go, like I would advise everybody to go watch George Bush throw out the first pitch at Yankees. Have you ever seen it?
I think so, yeah.
Well, here's what, you just see this cool dude walk out there and throw the first pitch, but here's what you don't know, like how many threats of his life. Do you remember that? Do you remember the first pitch? He went out there and threw it. And dude, he threw he threw a good ball. He walked out there like a badass by himself. And it was really the last time I remember our country really being united. Now it's whoever's in office trying to destroy the other party. And it's the people in power that are saying and doing whatever they can. But it was a really cool experience. When George Bush really united, he really united the country. But hopefully most people won't see something like that in their life, because it was a very, very traumatic, ugly, eerie day. I don't know if you remember if you go back and watch it, it's hard to watch those things and put in perspective. 21 years or 22, however many years ago it was. It's really hard to go back and understand what it was like. But I remember being a little scared that day. I remember being concerned about driving home. I was working in Brentwood. Do you remember that day? Well,
yeah.
What were you doing that day?
So that morning I was on my way to work, stopped, watched TV for a few minutes, then saw exactly what you saw the whole thing unfold. And one of the things that was interesting is at the time I owned a mortgage company in Nashville, and we had a guy that worked for us, and he was of Middle Eastern descent. So all of a sudden, we went from everything's cool to the next handful of days, we're over in South Nashville on Trousdale Drive, wondering if we're going to get, if something's going to happen to our, like it got really super weird. Like, could you imagine coming to work and you've just been there going along doing your thing, and next thing you know, somebody that you employ that's a realtor in Nashville, you're thinking they may just get shot on the street. I don't know, like you're worried. It was just a real uneasy time.
Very uneasy.
And the thing that you said a minute ago, that if anybody had a takeaway from all this, it's that we are all Americans, and so if you start trying to beat up on other Americans, just remember, if somebody attacks us, you can't have been beating up on your neighbors so bad that they're not there for you when we need them. So always keep that in mind when you have political disagreements and things. We're still all on the same team.
Good. Van, where were you? You're an old timer.
Oh, I was out on a shoot, so I wasn't aware of it until I stopped at a convenience store to get a coffee after the shoot.
See, back then, did we even have mobile phones yet? Maybe we did. A few people.
Just a few years. Yeah.
We didn't have internet on our phone. I don't think you could text yet.
I knew as many people with pagers as I did cell phones still.
You didn't have Twitter. I mean, it was just news traveled a lot slower. But man, it was a very, very bad day, ugly day, and we need to remind ourselves. So I just wanted to make the show about that. And again, I do think back, like I'm gonna do a little. I need to do some research to look. Was the World Trade Center target really in January when I was there? Shut us down, Vingraf 10.